From Election Day to COVID-19, the numbers ticking up in our area. Two big issues our city is facing right now. We want to address both of those in our KSAT Q&A today with Mayor Ron NIRENBERG, who joins us every Wednesday. Mayor, thanks for being with us. Let's start with COVID. We are seeing those numbers increase. Is this something that you're concerned about, especially given what we're seeing in other parts of the state? We've talked a lot about El Paso over the last couple of days and the surge they're seeing there.
Yeah, we have to stay vigilant, and it is a big concerning what we're seeing in other communities. The virus is clearly resurging across the country, and even here in Texas. And Texas now, unfortunately, leads the state in the number of cases. So we've seen that number steadily increase over the last couple of weeks, the last week really. In fact, today was the first time in over 2 months that our 7-day moving average, which is a less volatile indicator of where the cases are each day, our 7-day moving average of new cases is now above 200. And that's not a good thing. We want it to go the other direction. So we are anticipating the things that we might have to do, and we want to avoid them. And I think that, you know, we haven't seen a very sharp increase. We don't want to see that. And what we do now is really critical in terms of being able to prevent that kind of spike that we had earlier in the summer.
I know in the past you guys have looked closely at some of the graphs that are out there, including some that were formulated at UTSA. Are you still looking at graphs, and are they showing you anything that's of alarm?
We are. In fact, we just talked about it today in our internal briefing. We should be getting an update on that on a new model, taking into account what's happening in other parts of the state, but also, of course, here in our community with regard to the spread of the virus. We should be getting that update here very soon. So I look forward to, understanding what the statisticians and the medical experts are saying on forecasting where we will be. But again, it underscores the fact that we can control this virus. We can control whether or not we have to do more drastic measures simply by taking into account the things that our medical professionals have been saying from the very start. Again, the easiest way to slow the spread of a respiratory illness is to wear a mask, prevent that virus from getting from your mouth or nose to somebody else's mouth or nose. And we can block that. We can also keep distance from those who are not part of our household. We can make sure that we wash our hands thoroughly and frequently. All those commonsensical things are really, really important at this moment in order for us to avoid that big spike.
And you mentioned masks, of course, this slow increase happening as people are heading out to vote, which is great to see. But there is some more confusion on the mask issue when it comes to voting. A federal district judge ruling that people in Texas do need to be wearing masks when they head to the polling places, which contradicts what the governor put out a while back. So that's expected to be appealed. So what do people need to know as it stands right now if they're heading out to the polls?
Well, according to that federal judge, and a Republican federal judge, by the way, people need to be wearing masks at the polls. So that's what's in effect right now. It's frankly unconscionable that the state would appeal that ruling, but they are. And so I talked to Judge Wolf today, and they're based on how this has been a volley back and forth, and particularly at the appeals court, we don't expect that. We hope that order might stay in place, but we'll see what tomorrow brings. There's been so many lawsuits with regard to how elections are being conducted across the country, but certainly here in Texas over the last several weeks. This is just another on a long list. But let's just all commit ourselves to voting safely, protecting one another, and that means when you're at the polling site, wear a mask. You're not just protecting yourself. You're also protecting, in many cases, people who are working the polls, who are in their 70s and 80s, who may be vulnerable to disease spread. Do your part, wear a mask. Let's be safe. Let's get out to the polls. Everybody casts their vote. Let's do it safely.
Right. It's still in question whether it's mandatory to wear a mask, but there's nothing that says you can't wear a mask when you vote.
Absolutely. So absolutely, Steve. And I think that has been our modus operandi from the very start. The reason why we haven't seen the kinds of outbreaks we've seen in other parts of Texas and across the country here locally is because San Antonians have been listening to the medical experts. They've been listening to the public health officials when they say wear a mask, physical distance, all those things, common sense. we are interested in protecting one another. So we've been listening to the experts, not to the pundits.
Talk about the National Guard controversy, for lack of a better word. The governor's saying he's going to send National Guard to, among other cities, San Antonio, then kind of backing off that a little bit in recent days. It seems to be that there's some concern that there could be violence surrounding this election. Are you, as mayor and as the police chief, the fire chief, are you all working on the possibilities that what could happen on election day?
Yeah, every day, all the time. The reason why our public safety departments here in San Antonio are some of the best in the nation is because we are planning all the time for every contingency to keep our community safe. So that's no different going into election season and certainly into a very volatile political environment during probably one of the most important elections of our lifetime. So they are obviously going to be prepared. But no one is anticipating, nor have we gotten any indication that there's going to be any kind of, unrest or activity related to, the polling sites and to the election in general. So, this is the San Antonio community. We do this in some ways better than any other place in the country in terms of getting through difficult spells that certainly this political season has been. And we'll do it with class, and we'll do it together as a community.
And we're all waiting to see what unfolds next week. Mayor Ron NIRENBERG, as always, thanks for being with us.
We'll see you on the night beat. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We'll be right back.